Good morning. Happy Monday to everybody but Cowboys fans. Hold on one second. Let's get you a fancy opening. And let's get you some music. Hold on. Oh, yeah, there it is. All right. Hats actually look really good. Dallas fans were supposed to hear that. Hats actually look really good. I thought they were going to take longer to get back together. All right, I got to jump, guys. Where's this question? I got a question. Where's the freaking question? I gotta clean these suckers. Good morning, everybody. What do I think? You're bidding up, which is good. I don't know how much holds, and so we're gonna have to kind of figure that part of it out. I'm leaning towards that. Some of it's going to hold, but I think you have to look for the pullbacks first. So if we might as well just start with the NQ. I think that's the place to start. And we look at the NQ, right? You see where we're at down here. So Friday the 10th, I mean, like, it's not rocket science that we bounced and where we bounced. Like, it's not really a crazy level. Everybody knew it was there. So now we're back to neutral. So we're not even oversold anymore. We're back to neutral. And it happened pretty darn fast. And that's what tends to happen with these. I don't know that you're just out of the woods here. If you go and take a look at the 5, I'm kind of surprised that you're not up more on the RSI, that it's this even, which is really very good because it means that they're, from a short-term perspective, it means they're not done. If they were done, you wouldn't really look like this. So I do think that that's super important for people to get. And that you can see some stuff there for sure that could be, pretty good. And what I mean by pretty good is that you could be in a position here where, that stuff, it holds. Like, this could hold off the open. So I think that there is something to that, but give me 1 second here, guys. I have a ton on. I just want to check one thing really quickly. Yep. So yeah, I don't think that that's the end of the world there. All right, cool. So if I'm to look at this, the biggest thing for me is watching the open and then watching where we hold. So I'll give you a couple levels that I think are super important. The very first thing that I would do is go to this, and we're going to get rid of this for a second, but you're not overbought on the 5, which is really good, like really good. So if I click on this, so that's peak VWAP. And what we're noticing is every single time that you've gotten near peak VWAP, right, you're kind of rejecting it, aren't you? So what you'd probably want to do is put a little alert there. You should do what you're comfortable with, and then kind of see how you act. The other thing is just dropping a volume profile from there and then just watching that volume profile and going, oh, okay, cool. So the volume profile flipped here. And I'd want to make sure on that volume profile that I stay above the peak volume profile. So I'd probably want to put an alert there. And what this does for you is now you're not telling the market what it's going to do. You're just watching and saying, do I break the value low of this peak or do I get above VWAP? And so this gives us a definable range. And what you can do with that definable range is pretty much anything you want, but of course, this blocks blue light because you can't see crap. But you got an 80 basis point range there. So I think that that's super important to say, all right, well, I do have a range and I can go off of that. We know that we rejected up here. We know that. I don't know that you're going up having a 3% day. You got a bunch of guys saying they're going to open up the government. You have a bunch of people that are jumping ship to an extent. From the Democrats that want to open the government over the promise of a vote that they know is not going to go anywhere. It really seems like the majority of this was done just for the election, so it seems like the elections, and the reason I care about this is not because I care, but the reason I bring it up is I think it's important to understand what the motivation behind why they do it so that you know that it's probably is going to, it's probably is going to end this week. And I think that that's important. So they wrap that up, everything opens. I don't think we're getting data anytime soon. And I think that's important to get too. But do you think that maybe we're going to have some more news on this that's not going to be great? You're probably going to get some news on this that the Democrats aren't going to sign off on it or something like that. What's crazy to me is all these people went home and they have to be flown back in or fly back in to vote, right? So you'll see all the flights start happening and things like that. If we look at the peak VWAP from the 29th, okay. And so what we're doing here and what I'm just showing you before we go any further, that peak VWAP, you hit like a ton of bricks, right? So you're trying to get through it. And I think that that's very important for us to just know, there's times to use VWAP and there's times that like, you can just VWAP all over yourself. One of the core times for me to use it is where's the most pain. The most pain's down for people that didn't buy that, and the most pain is for the person that bought here. So whenever I get pain points, I want to pay attention to that. So I'm hitting this and I'm rejecting just like I did there. So is that really an area that I want to look at and go, man, I really need to, I really need to get in there. I really need to buy that. Not so much. So for me, I look at that and go, that's not really very appealing to me. Therefore, it's not something that I want to pay attention to. Therefore, I would probably be more of a net seller here, right? I mean, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? It rejected here, it rejected there. Now, the one thing that you're going to take from it, and what I would take from it, but you should do what you're comfortable with, hit, rejects hard, eats up supply, pulls back down, hits. See how and I know it's so slight, but it's there and it's important to note. So here's your low. Here's your close right there. See that close? See how that close, see how fast you bounced off of that? So you're eating up supply here. you're not hitting it and it's getting worse. See how this little move's telling you that. So I think there's something to it, and it's possible that you flip it. I don't bet that I'm going to flip those. What I like to do with them is this. I like to watch them flip, watch a retest, and then I'd buy the retests. Because if you break there, then you know the average person's like, get me out. Or as the kids like to say, Audi 500. They still say that, right? So I tell my son I'm cool. He just doesn't believe me. So it's definitely something that we want to watch, and certainly something that we want to pay attention to. What do you got for me? All right, cool. Thanks, John. And then we just kind of want to see how that, how that plays out. But I do think overall, and again, this is just from, my standpoint, that's not really the area that I want to rush into. So, we'll have to watch how that plays, out. So I don't think there's a lot for me to do there. I think it's got to make a decision, and then I'd be more interested in what I'm going to do there. So if we take a look at the 4 hour, again, same thing. It came down, tested. And if we just do the simple basic stuff, you guys all know this, right? You all know that you came down here, test, test, test. So, it's great. And let's see what happens. I don't know that you have enough to motivate it into the end of the year. You really need to make some really big headway here. So I think a lot of these names, to me, they're going to try to get them as flat as possible. SanDisk is above its call wall. So they're going to try to get that as flat to that 240 as possible to eat up those calls. And that should be interesting to see what happens there, since the other ones are already up 5%. So I would expect you're going to see something similar to that later in the day. Maybe, you never know. What else was super interesting to me? This Google chart was interesting. What else do I really want to go over? This MTSR looks like the deal for it is going to be way lower than what people thought. You always have to be careful of these deals, especially when the cash is over. This was actually a perfect one to buy, puts on. I didn't do it because I had so much else on. But if you looked at puts on that for November 21st, like the 70 puts were like 65 cents. Like it made 0 sense. It was really something that, in hindsight, I should have paid way more attention to. It just had too much going on because they were trading this thing way over the cash value of the deal. So it is what it is. But I think that's super important. And, we'll see how that plays. But what else do I think is out there that is pertinent? But you're not going to ask about ASTS is tonight. I think that'll be a fun one. Uranium looks to me like it bounced. That really does look like it's going to bounce there. RBLK, a lot of people are looking at that. I don't get it. I really do like the Rocket Labs here too. And they supposedly have earnings tonight. So I'm very interested there as well. So we'll see. But I'm going to take questions for the time that we have together because I do have to jump at 9 because I have a ton going on. Yeah, I saw the yields rising. Yeah, let's do Well, we just did SanDisk. SanDisk has a call wall at 240, dude. So you're probably going to clean that up. But people need to listen. Like the one thing I said on Saturday's video was if you wanted to listen to 2 calls, like if you wanted to listen to 2 conference calls, the 2 conference calls that I would listen to would be SanDisk and IREN. I would listen to those. They would be the ones I would listen to. AKMI. So I'm assuming it's earnings, and I haven't listened to it. And this chart's really broken to me. So I'm not a big fan of charts that do this, John. Like bonk, 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 bonk. Like, I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. That's not for me. It could very well work. It's just not for me. SanDisk to me is going to go a lot higher. Yeah, NVIDIA told them to raise their what do you call it? NVIDIA told them to raise their dollar amount and raise all their expectations. So raise prices. They don't care. Big meeting this week. Big meeting this weekend with NVIDIA and the CEO. Raise your prices. I don't care. We need more. So, it doesn't usually end with them saying we need more chips. So we had a nice trade on this actually on Friday. 182.5. 183 with 182.5 puts. So turned into a monster. Okay. Absolute monster. I'm not. Let's go through this, Kev. I didn't mean to jump you. I'm sorry. I went from New York. I got to get up there, man. That's stuff I got to do for Christmas. MP AMD. MP. Maybe that's it. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's looking like it, right? So I don't know. I think you're there. I think you're washed, but is that really where I want to focus? You have a level right here, and I just make sure that you actually get through that 62.5. That's what I'd watch. AMD to me is just so overvalued that it just doesn't make sense for me. But I get it. Everybody loves it. If you take $1.20 times it by 4, give them 5. 5 times 20 is 100. I'm trading at 50 times earnings, like 50 times the last 12 earnings. Like I have no interest in that whatsoever, like none. So I get it. I mean, don't get me wrong. Chart looks fine, but to me, I don't know, man. I think your top might be really in on this. So, guys, you have to remember these are like what I would like. I say this all the time with certain names, but like when in doubt, zoom out. So that's what your weekly looks like on AMD. And this is your weekly on the market. So like everyone's getting, giddy this morning and, we're going to, let's open up. But that's your weekly. That's what your weekly bar looks like. So I don't know. I think everybody's got to, let it settle in and then we'll kind of go from there. I don't know that you want to just be, jumping up and down and thinking that everything's going to be, rosy. I think you're better off just kind of, chilling and seeing how this all plays out. I think you're much better off doing that. I don't know that you want to put yourself in a position here where you just look at that market and think everything's like, oh, it's fine. It's just an enormously huge bearish week. We always bounce back from those, and sometimes you do, right? And sometimes you don't. And usually, to be candid, you usually don't. It takes like at least another week to work it off and then see which way you're going to go. And it usually depends on the length of the bar and where that bar is relative to like RSI. So like, if you look at RSI when you're here, it's not usually just like, oh, we balance and like everything's groovy. So just be aware of that. That's kind of where my head is. So when I look at something like AMD and people are like, oh, are you buying AMD here? I'm like, no, I love myself. Like there's no way I would do that trade. Now, I've also said that all year. If I look at something like NVIDIA, I think it's holding up better. But if the market's going to get smoked, they're going to smoke AMD. Like they will smoke that thing. So that concerns me a lot if I was to be long that. And the thing is just the valuation. Like you have to think about it this way. Like PLTR, right, was great. Like this was a fantastic quarter, but you're just ahead of yourself. So really what you're doing is you just want that valuation to work itself in. And then when it does, then you go and take a look at it, right? Oh. I hope that helps, Kev. Maybe we'll do like a meet and greet in New York. I keep talking about it, but maybe if I put it in the books, then I would do it. I just get so damn comfortable. And then I look at the weather and I'm like, what are you thinking? You got like leaves falling off trees, seasons. We don't have seasons down here. Why? Like, why would I do that over this? Why would I do that over this? What do you know that I don't? A second. Let me see what's the differentiation. What are you looking at, Jacob? Because you're always looking at something. All right. From a technical standpoint, I mean, it looks great, but I don't know. I mean, you've been basing, but I think that base is over, which is like you have your test, your retest, so you're probably gone. I don't know. If I was to own Latin America, I don't know why you wouldn't just own Argentina. Like to me, that makes the most sense, you know, but it tracks what's it tracking? All right. So, okay. So hold on one second. So it's all Brazil, 56 Brazil, and then 26% Mexico. And I have zero exposure to Argentina in this. So your top holdings are this thing. I mean, why not just buy this? I don't know. I'm not feeling that at all. I don't know why, but I'm not feeling it. EWW makes a lot of sense to me. EWW makes a lot of sense. This made so much sense in April too, like so much sense. You know, when you go back and look at it, but because everyone's going to go there and build a plant just to deal with the U.S. So it's so dumb, but that's what they're going to do, and Mexico's going to love it. I'd be more interested in trading Mexico. I mean, if I was going to make the bet, I'd make the bet. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I say it. If I was going to make that bet, I'd make the bet. What we got going on here? Yeah, I mean, it's going to be all over the place, dude. It will be all over the place today. VRT, I mean, the ASML is the only one that has lithography machines. So I tend to buy this thing when nobody wants it. And then when everybody wants it, I tend not to own it. It's worked for me for a very long period of time doing this trade that way. I don't like to buy it at the high because that's when everyone starts buying the things. I want to buy it when everyone thinks you'll never need a lithography machine again. So that tends to work for me, that kind of style of trading with these names. Like if you had a value name in semis, you're staring at it. I have no interest in that trade up here, like zero. So, but man, they're taking all this stuff in. But I think they're going to take this one down as close as they can to 240. And they might whack it a little bit today. It had a great day. So, which one of those is interesting? CoreWeave's super interesting because CoreWeave's the one that everyone's writing off and you have a lot of pressure on CoreWeave because a lot of people were short CoreWeave. And then I believe it was this one they were going to buy. So they would have gone short CoreWeave, long cores. And that's not going to work out, right? So it's definitely something of interest, but that's not going to work out. So I got to check this real quick. Give me 1 second here. Go flat. I'll buy more. It's crazy what they can move. A couple thousand shares, you can drop this thing. Absolutely crazy. All right. CoreWeave's interesting. The stimulus checks, they're going to go buy crypto. That's what people tend to do with those stimulus checks. They buy crypto. Whenever you see the word stimulus check, just think of buying Bitcoin. I mean, it's really it's really that simple. That's tends to be what happens here. So you see names like MSTR lift, Coin will lift today. There's those kinds of names will lift. That's what the stimulus checks do. They usually don't go out and buy the jeans, but they might do that. And I think he's got a real problem with his tariffs, but we can do that in another video. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? You have to think about it from this standpoint, John. So here's how I think you have to view it, right? So here's your balance sheet. And thanks, John. I appreciate it. Here's your balance sheet, right? And so and then you have the great financial crisis. Everyone's like, oh my God, $800 billion. What are we going to do? Don't worry about it. We will never do it again. Okay. And then here we are, right? And so they start paring it down, and then we get into the pandemic, and then the pandemic kicks in, and everyone wants to know why a JPEG is called an NFT and they're worth billions of dollars, right? So, because they injected $1.7 trillion into the economy. That's why people's houses are unaffordable, because there's more money in the market, but we'll do that another time. So you see how it's starting to slow? So instead of letting it pare down now, what they're saying is they're going to start buying treasuries with that, instead of letting it just expire or selling it or whatever the heck they want to do with it, because they can do whatever they want to do. They can buy it, they can sell it, they can let it mature. So he's saying now what we're going to do is start buying treasuries. So if you're going to buy treasuries, you're going to artificially inflate the market. If you're going to artificially inflate the market, and then while you're buying treasuries, the next thing you're going to do is cut rates. Okay. You're literally fighting the Fed if you think market's going down. So yeah, 100%. But this is definitely the issue. And you worked off some of it. You got to get rid of all of it, I think, but it is what it is. So what's up, buddy? I think so too. There's gonna be a lot of fun today. Feeling very excited. So I think the pump really is that the government might not be completely dysfunctional, and that we got grossly oversold, and that you're going to get winners and losers. And I think you're in the winners and losers stage of the 90s. And I think people are starting to realize that it's probably not going to be OpenAI, and that OpenAI's got a lot of fleas, and people are starting to realize that. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. He's just floating stuff out there. I'm all for a 50-year mortgage. I think people are like, oh, it'll only drop the payments like $500 or something. All right. Well, if the difference between buying a house for $2,000 and $1,500 a month, when you don't have it, when I started, you don't have it. So $500 when you don't have it makes a hell of a lot of difference, and now you're building up equity, and then you can always add to the payments, but at least it gives you the flexibility for those that want to, start a family or have a home. So anything that does that, I'm all for. And it would drive rates down, and it would make people want to build houses, which is another issue that you have. What's up, Tariq? What's up, Adam? Pepsi changing their logo? I don't know, dude. I don't know. I don't pay attention to it. What's up? I don't know. I don't know what you're going to get there. I'll tell you, my thought on it was that it's grossly oversold and people have no idea. To me, I don't think people truly understand this call. And you usually get the two-step, right? Which whatever happens that day, you get the inverse after earnings, which is probably why SanDisk could come in today. But it's the same thing you saw with AMD, right? So whatever the first day does, the second day is usually very different. And that's because of all the algorithms that are out there right now. But I look at IREN and I was laughing, why in God's name would anybody sell this? It doesn't make any sense. So What's up, Lynn? I'll email. Yep, just email me. Email the concierge whenever you're ready, Lynn. Hold on, let me put that out there. Hold on. I can do stuff. I'm smart. Hold on. ASTS RKLB. Yeah, it's not a problem, Lynn. Whenever you're ready, here, let me just put this out there. Do not email me. I don't know how many people I have to say that to. People email me and no one, it's just, I don't know. I get a couple hundred emails a day. Just email the concierge. Then I'm not just email the concierge whenever you're ready. Yeah, whenever works for you. Go Birds. I think the CPI data is going to be screwed, for lack of a better term. EOSE. I don't have a position in this. I know the guys in the room were trading it. That looks fantastic. If I'm to look at the vol, you have to be doing cartwheels over that, right? You'd have to be super happy with your choice, your life choices right now. If we're to look at where you're going to go, you got some levels that you could head to 100%. Good morning from Orlando. Yeah, that's like, you're up there north. You're one of them northerners. I don't really like gold here, bro. Like, I'm not a fan. Just not a fan. Riverboat. Years ago, I went out with a girl that used to sing on a riverboat. Can you believe that? What's up, Monica? What's up, Darren? Hi, G. Good morning from San Francisco. Good morning from Miami. Yeah, I think that, but it gets people to build up equity. I think. I don't know. They got to do something with that, and they got to get rid of the predatory school lending. It's so freaking predatory. It's not even funny. Sophie, yeah, the Sophie's interesting. If regionals are going to work, that should work. I would start looking at some of these weekly charts though, because you got stuff like this, and it's not great. I've seen great before, dude. So, it's really one of those markets to me where take it when you have it and then understand that you could have some real issues out there. I don't view this as everything's going to be fine. We can get our butts handed to us this week, and we're bouncing. What you want to do is watch the breadth of the market. So like the percentages, if they're going to cut rates, you'd have to think Sophie's going to be a monster, right? But there I go again, thinking. KTOS I like a lot. I have not bought it back since I sold it. We sold it when it broke up in here, and since then I'm going back to it. And I really didn't want to sell it, but we actually had a double in the thing. We actually bought it on a very classic breakout here when we started really understanding what the Department of Defense was doing, and we were very fortunate. In here we watched it, the doji, and then I was like, all right, that's enough. Like, I'm not going for a ride, because I saw where the ride could take me. Like, you always have to think about, like, where could the ride take you? You're like, well, 55. I'm like, I'm not losing half my gain. When it started cracking the 12. So I kicked it. I don't know here yet. To me, yeah, I think that they do have a way to go. AVAV, I think, is more interesting, don't you? The way that held that 55. I definitely think that's way more interesting there than anything else. So that's definitely the one that I would, tend to focus on. If I was looking at one of those today, I kind of like how that's holding, don't you? Oh, thanks. Very nice. Who doesn't like them? Multi-generational mortgages. I just think that it gives people the ability to get into it. I know people are like, "Oh, I think it's bad." Well, what? Okay, then don't get one. Uh, bu- 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 Hypercolor shirts, Pogs, some slap bracelets. Dude, you're killing me. Remember the Pogs? WDC, I think, looks great. I think that whole space is just going to, I don't see anything that's going to get that space down. I truly don't. Um, you're going to have some kind of massive disconnect in the market. And I just don't think that you're going to. So it's so true, though. It's funny. The Pogs. I remember the AOL deal. And we all looked at it and go, oh boy, we got a problem. I remember that. I think coin makes more sense. I think Circle's still early. I was looking at that level, that 100, because you're holding it, but coin makes way more sense. I don't know what you're getting on earnings. Last earnings was not great, right? So here they killed it. Here it wasn't so great. So I don't know what you're going to get on earnings over here, but I've got a lot of lines in here that I'm watching. I think 330 is going to be a real pickle because of the peak that's up in here. And there's some issues there. If I go to a bear chart, I'll show you. So like where you at now, 341, I got a call wall in here. I don't know, man. I think you're going to hit some stuff, but I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. I think the MSTR looks better. I think you're going to rally, work off the overbought. I think you're going to roll down again, and then we're going to see what people are made of. That's what I think is going to happen. I think the OpenAI comments, to me, just being blunt, like I think the OpenAI comments scared the bejesus out of people. Where people are saying things along the lines of, you're doing $12 billion in revenue. How are you going to pay for all this? And then he's like, well, just sell your shares. Like, no, dude, we're asking you like an actual business question. The CFO is saying, oh, well, we might need a government backstop, or a government backstop might help us. Like, yeah, that might help every company in the world. And it wasn't even the comment which he retracts it, but it's like somebody that holds a position like that, that's their statement. So I think that really scared the living heck out of people, honestly. Just to be blunt about it, I think it really did. So from my standpoint, when I looked at it, I think it's a problem. And I think that's scaring people a lot. I think it's scaring people more than they're saying, because they've been through some things. The cash flow side of things, where Meta all of a sudden has to issue bonds to keep up, or, Oracle has to issue bonds because of the free cash flow. I mean, to me, it's more of an issue, right? Like Google did it because they wanted to. They don't have to. So I think the free cash flow is something that you got to like really wrap your noodle around, for sure. That could definitely be an issue. So I don't know that you're just, everything's fine and we're going to melt up. I think you're going to get your winners and losers, and kind of go from there. So Fort Myers is nice. I don't know that Oracle bottomed out yet. I mean, do I think it did? I kind of was thinking it this week, and I was talking to somebody about it. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like, oh, here's your breakout. We undercut the low. You got a little hammer. Like you're gonna know real fast. I mean, that's the one thing I love about levels like that. Like you're gonna find out real quick. Dude, bro, I can't even remember. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's just either hot or it's not. And NVIDIA had some really good news today. Yeah, you can actually pay your mortgage off earlier. I don't think a lot of people understand that, but that's okay. Maybe. Yeah, I don't think it's even that. I think it's just that there's a lot of stuff going on out there. It's definitely harder. It's not really working your way up when you got saddled with $250,000 in predatory lending. It's a little different. I don't think people really understand that, like how different the loan structures are now than when we went to college. Like I went to college on loans, but they, you know, the rate was like 7 or 8%, and the to get in was not that expensive. You know, I remember when my kid went to, and he went to an expensive school, but the first year he went in, he got a scholarship, and then partial for the first year, and that was just to get him in. And then it, like, you're looking at this and going, okay, well, you know, these kids that are going there, they could come out with $250,000 in loans at like 20% interest. Like, it's insane, you know? And so I don't think that's being explained enough to people personally, but I'm not going to get, that's not why we're all here. I don't know enough about it. I know that when this happened, I know when people say that they walked away, that this company had a bad day because they're walking away from these, the thing they were supposed to vote on hurts HCA the most. That's all I know. That's the only thing that I know about it. I don't know anything. I don't know anything else about it. You know, all these names are coming in because of it, maybe because of the costs associated with it. I don't know. But someone was explaining it to me very, very briefly this morning that HCA takes it on the chin the most. And that's all I know. I don't know more than that. You know what I mean? The interest rates are disgusting. Yeah, we were just talking about this today too. Like, you get a credit card. I have a credit card, right? You use the credit card. I have good credit. My credit rates are still like 24% or something. Like, it's insanity. They need to cap that crap. Like, all right, you get 10% over whatever the 10-year is. Like, that's a lot of money. So I think a lot of that has gone really predatory. I don't really know where, like, that Consumer Protection Credit Agency, what exactly they're doing. Because it doesn't seem like a whole heck of a lot, frankly, to people. And, you know, I think this is why people are so disenfranchised. Just my opinion. What do I know? Anyway, that's enough of that. I'd be super careful off the open that it just continues. You have the levels, I'd watch them and I'd see how it goes. But, you know, you really want to make sure that you go somewhere. If you really look at it, you haven't done anything. You know, you really haven't gone anywhere yet, have you? So, you know, just understand that. Like, it's not like you're grinding higher, you're like holding levels. And there's a huge difference there. So keep that in mind. But all right, guys, have a great day. Make good choices.